Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the program. My name is Jeff, otherwise known as the Economic Prepper, and I'm here to talk to you about, once again, tariffs. This one is going to be specific to Bitcoin, so if this resonates with you, I really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, send it out to people, but I'm going to jump right down into it. Now, I wrote a tweet a couple weeks ago, not even that long, but about a week or two ago, when all this stuff was hitting, and I was looking at, like, what is manufactured in overseas that's going to impact Bitcoin? If you're not familiar with Bitcoin mining, the biggest miners, Antminer, Bitmain, they come from China, okay? So now I wanted to look and see, are there carve-outs for the things that, for these Bitcoin miners, like, because they're, even though there are steep tariffs put in place between the US and China right now, there were carve-outs that were set for certain things like computers and chips and certain things that are hard to make right in the US right now. So, and that's typically what's done. You make these carve-outs until the domestic production catches up, so that then you can, put those tariffs up again. You're protecting your domestic production, but you don't want to hurt your domestic companies that need parts from China or key components. So, Bitcoin miners are obviously a big part of a Bitcoin mining operation. Now, I know that there are other ones that are out there that are like not as. There are other miners that are out there that are not as well known, but Bitmain, Antminer, that's the number one in the category for sure. So I went and looked at the tariffs. I went and looked at the codes. And it's a little bit in the corner right now. It's like a corner case. But from what I was able to find, for Bitcoin miners, looking at and I'll put this tweet. I'll retweet this. And I tweet on it. I'll share this tweet on the description when I post this. But Bitcoin miners, all right, there were carve-outs for 8471 products, and those are the ones I was just talking about, the computers and chips. That is each. When you get things imported, there are classifications of imports. So that does this get a tariff? Does it not get a tariff? And you classify things, and you have like a manifest of like what you do, because when you go through customs, someone's looking at what comes in and then comes out. And one of the things they look for is what classification are these goods? Are they cars? Are they computer chips? Are they Bitcoin miners? For computers, it's apparently 8471, but unfortunately for Bitcoin miners, they're typically in the code is 8543, which means that Bitcoin miners from Bitmain in China are going to be facing a steep tariff. So what does this mean? Well, domestic production of Bitcoin mining is going to go up, or you may see that the Bitcoin mining operations may go up in the United States domestically, either the full-blown production or finished good production, which means that they would ship the key components from China, let those suffer through the tariff, and then they would add that or finish that product stateside and then make it available here. Now, that's going to, if they do that, okay, that's going to really affect Bitmain's business, because typically Bitmain, for those who don't know, they build their next generation miners and then they test them for like 6 months. They call it a burn-in phase. Really what they're doing is they're mining before anyone else with the latest tech. Then they'll sell that. So they mine for 6 months, then they sell it, and then every 12 months or so, maybe even faster, I don't know, they'll come up with another generation of our product. Typically, Bitcoin miners last 3 or 4 years. So typically the cycle is like 3 or 4 years. But they get that burn-in phase for them. They get to mine first with the best equipment while everybody else has older stuff. So what does that mean? Well, that business is going to be hampered for Bitmain and Antminer, but there's going to be an increase in production and revenue for companies that see this as an opportunity and can get those critical components and make Bitcoin miners domestically. So near term for the consumer or the companies that are Bitcoin mining, the ones that you have are pretty much going to be what you get for the next couple of months. For the next several years. Now, typically the cycle is like they come out about a year in advance of the halving, because they want to have the newest tech to compensate for the fact that the production of Bitcoin goes down. That when we went from 6.25 of every 10 minutes that the block reward went from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125, got cut in half. That hurt the business of miners like by 50. The revenues goes down 50%. So what they did is they had to upgrade their equipment so they can hash faster, they can calculate faster, and win more blocks to compensate for the fact that the blocks that they win are less valuable. So typically that happens about a year in advance of the halving. The good news is that the halving typically is the same year as the presidential election. So we are about 2 years or so from the next generation, most likely, of Bitcoin miners. So we got 2 years to figure this out. But what that means is that those S21s, the top end Bitcoin miners, they're going to be valuable domestically for longer until someone sees this business opportunity domestically and starts building more Bitcoin miners in the States, either in partnership with Bitmain to get some of those key components over here, or building them from scratch. So just keep that in mind. Probably not a huge impact just yet. You may have been thinking about it and just like, what comes from China? What do we need for Bitcoin? That's one of them. So keep that in mind. We're probably going to be okay for the next couple of years, but look for somebody to seize that opportunity and start making domestic, very high-end PCs or video cards that will be used exclusively for Bitcoin mining domestically. All right. What are your thoughts? What do you think about the tariffs and the Bitcoin mining aspect? Let me know in the comments, and I'll read all of them, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.